A few days ago, I was in Ahmedabad for the orthotropics class slash, I guess you could call it a conference because it's where a lot of people that are like-minded in this field are coming together. These are going to be the people that are going to push our ideas of whole body correction forward, and they're going to be our allies in terms of not only getting the messaging out there, but making sure that kids don't have retractions and, when we want to explore the field further in terms of what sort of appliances can we use to aid in our whole body correction, including craniofacial dystrophy, getting the skull of adults fully developed, and especially getting the skull of children fully developed. Anyways, I talked to a lot of practitioners there, and one practitioner in particular, we had the chance to sit down and talk for a while about whole body breathing, actually, in osteopathy, and how osteopathy plays a role in getting correction throughout the entire body, and how the entire body is um, able to correct together. And one thing I think that people here would be encouraged to hear is that a lot of the practitioners there understood this connection. A lot of them were into the idea of like the hips being canted and the sort of things that people talk about with splint therapy. Of course, I mean, they are at the Orthotropics conference, so these are going to be the people that are ahead of the field in terms of their level of research and their level of interest in how the human body as a whole works. Now, in the conversation, we were discussing that if you go to an osteopath, a very skilled osteopath, that some people get really, really good adjustments and they get really, really good cranial changes, facial changes, and changes through their body. And sometimes that you might only need to go to the osteopath a few times to get fully adjusted. I disagreed with that. I said that you might be able to clear some patterns, but your entire body needing to be cleared would require basically either constant osteopathic adjustment or your ability to adjust yourself on a daily and moment to moment basis, which is what whole body breathing is about. And in that conversation, something interesting came up, which was that apparently these osteopaths had a concept, which is of people that were more hard bodied versus more soft bodied, more hard boned versus more soft boned. And the soft bone people would take to adjustment more easily, especially in childhood. It seems like the people that are more malleable, and then probably in adulthood, the people become stiffer and stiffer and less able to adjust. And the way that it was discussed to me was simply that this is just a trait that people can have. Some people are going to get a lot of adjustment really quickly because they're very malleable within their internal structure, and then some people are going to basically relapse to where your position was, or they're going to require a lot more adjustment, or they won't be able to get adjustment in the first place because their structure, their bones is just stiff. It's locked in place. And that's where I was able to propose to the people that I was talking to that I don't think that that's set in stone. I think that essentially the whole body becoming a more malleable body is the purpose of whole body breathing. It's finding the fascial constrictions in the body that are improper, that are holding you in a constricted state, and releasing those and letting those go. Now, osteopaths would be absolutely masters at this sort of craft. However, they would have noticed that some people just seem to be holding on to more. They may be holding on to stuff that's even deeper than what other people. Maybe someone who got an injury later in life might be able to release that injury more easily than someone who's holding on to very deep trauma, emotional trauma, really deep early injuries, or people that are dealing with potentially, say, generational stuff. Okay. And it was a good conversation to have because it really put whole body breathing into context of like, what is it that we're doing? These practitioners are trying their best to get adjustment throughout the whole body. Some of them do it through the teeth and the dental area almost entirely. Some of them are now working with osteopaths. And then, of course, there's the entire osteopathy, um, PRI. There's the various fields that are focusing entirely on the body itself and adjusting the whole body at once. And the issue is that they can get great results, but in adults, how come the adults either relapse or how come the adults are not going all the way to full correction? And importantly, how come in children, how come we don't have a guaranteed system yet that can guarantee every single child that goes through the system will get to their genetic blueprint, their inbuilt blueprint of growth potential, which, as we understand, modern humans are their jaw growth and quite possibly their body growth is growing far short of where it should be, on the order of centimeters short compared to the full development of their airways, of the jaw joints, of their aesthetics, of their profile, of the entire skull, and also the proper decompression of the spine, such like that. Okay, and I think whole body breathing would play the role of sort of the missing link in between. You're going to a practitioner, and the practitioner is doing could be doing amazing work. There are absolutely amazing osteopaths. I've had that work done myself where they enhance what I'm doing so much that it would have taken me hours to get to what they do in a couple hours. But I'm doing it alongside them, which is where whole body breathing actually is really powerful at this point. Is if you know how to do whole body breathing, then you can go to a practitioner like an osteopath or an ALF practitioner, or say someone who's doing orthotropics on an adult, and you as a patient are now really helping, you're really guiding your own treatment, and you're enhancing it significantly because, as came up in conversation, some percent of the population is more constricted, less able to change, and then some percent of the population just changes really a lot more easily. If you allow your treatment to be entirely up to the professional, the practitioner working on you, you're gambling about how receptive you are to treatment. Whole body breathing is supposed to make you more receptive to treatment. It's supposed to make you more malleable. At the core part of our philosophy is something we're pulling from the Tao Te Ching actually, is that do you have the patience to wait until you settle, until the patterns in you that are playing out, they can play themselves out and relax. And then they say that a person who becomes that way, they become childlike and their bones become soft and childlike as well. And it's in childhood that you are malleable, that your growth can happen. And it's in adulthood that you become more solidified, more rigid as a person. And also your structure becomes rigid and solidified as a person. So in children and in adults, what we propose that we need to do is you are a psychosomatic creature, okay? Your mind and your emotions are inside your body. That's why when you have a heartache, you feel it in your heart. When you have nervousness, you feel it in your stomach. Your emotions and your rage, anger, everything, it's in your body. Your brain's not entirely up here. It's through the whole body. So what happens in your body and what happens in your mind are tied together. It's the body mind, mind body. They're the same thing. So if you want change in the body, then you have to go inside the mind. Orthotropics in a lot of fields understand this, that, posture is your form. Okay, so like form follows function, so you have to change the resting posture. But what posture is essentially your personality to a large degree. Okay, confident people stand like this. People that are sad or hunched over. It's not that clear cut, not that simple. But if you want to change your posture, that means you're subconsciously changing who you are, what you are. In order to make that sort of change, it can be done purely physically, but that's a really brute force way of doing it. You can aid it by doing everything psychosomatically, finding out what sort of mental patterns are going on inside of you, releasing those patterns, and then also building the proper fascial lines and structural lines that are identified in whole body breathing. And we lift those from various places like anatomy trains. Okay. Purpose of this video is essentially to say that when you go out there and speak about this thing to other people in the communities, and I encourage you to speak about the ideas that we talk about, you're gonna find that we overlap heavily with everything. And the intention is, it wasn't even an intention, but it was almost to be a missing link between all of the different modalities. for them to come around something that which is the most basic movement that we do, the most basic posture that we have, um, the most ancient way of getting into your subconscious, getting into your spirituality, into your mind, and into your body, which is the pranayama through breathing. If you can do this, then any treatment that you go through with is going to be greatly enhanced. And chances are that you can get the effects of many treatments, as people have. You can get those sort of effects without any sort of outside treatment, actually. You can get a lot of amazing effects on your TMJs, your airway, your anxiety, your internal states, just through breathing alone.